Oh, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which is time for us to be talking about coping with stress. And the topic that I wanted to talk about, because two people I love very dearly have both asked me to talk about it, one was Jody and the other was Lauren, was the subject of apologies. And I don't know about the rest of you, but we're a bit overdue for that discussion. And I'd like to start by apologizing for the fact that I needed to cancel a couple of broadcasts recently due to the fact I was not very well. And if you hear it, what I've actually done is justify the action, which is not an apology. The apology should be I want to tell you how sorry I am not to have been well enough to be able to do a broadcast. And I'm even not too sure about that one, but we'll talk about it in a second. But I'm certain you all get the idea. So I don't think we have any birthdays this week, and if you do, or a really important anniversary to you or someone, just let me know because it means I haven't got it on the database at the moment. And for those of you who are new, a very warm welcome to you. Dear Mama Sal is not just me; it's a group of us that get together, and we discuss things on a weekly basis that really affect us all to do about coping with our lives better than we've done in the past. And hi there to Jeannie. Jeannie, good to see you. Always a pleasure to see you here. And Jeannie, for those of you who don't know, is one of our moderators. She looks after me while I'm broadcasting, which I'm very grateful for, or for which I'm very grateful. I can hear my mother trying to tell me that that would be more polite. And to Jody, who is our number one admin and who is one of the people that asked me to talk on this subject. So welcome to you, whether you are watching in the background or not. And I know a lot of you do that. And I also know a lot of you watch it on the replay. So thank you all for being here. And thank you for still being here, even though I've been missing for a while. However, I am feeling that much better. The heat has dropped down a bit as well. There were two issues going on for me. Number one was that, for those of you who don't know, I have somebody that has had a mastectomy, and I take a drug that every now and then absolutely bowls me over. I can't do anything for days on end, and almost, I think this last time it was almost 10 days on end, where I was, in such a brain fog, I couldn't put a broadcast together if I tried. And, I hope you guys appreciate that I do almost anything I possibly can to do a broadcast, but, some days and some weeks it's just not possible. So there we go. Yeah, glad the heat wave is a bit better. You'll be glad to hear that it's down to a very calm 83.3 Fahrenheit where I'm standing right now. On Friday it was 90 in here. And I am not going to try and stand up and do a broadcast in 90-degree heat. That would be insane. It would not be good for me. Better I go and sit down and just do everything I can to keep cool. So Jody is saying that she can vouch for the fact that I do absolutely everything I can to do a broadcast. Thank you for that support, Jody. Kenzie, good to see you. Big hug. And so, first question. I got a number of questions for you because I want to make sure that we all end up laughing about this because I'm certain we've all fallen into a lot of traps about apologies. And that is what our quotes are going to be about. Let me start with that. Apologies aren't meant to change the past. They are meant to change the future. So first of all, I'm going to go through the who, what, why, where, when, and how of apologies. Okay, because I reckon that's good communication. If you've covered all those W's and that H, who, what, why, where, when, and how, you've communicated. So first of all, who needs to apologize? All right, somebody did something wrong to you. Who needs to apologize? And the answer to that is not as easy as we think. And that's the point that I want to make today. One of many points that I want to make to it. The thing is this, it depends if you want to continue the relationship. Because you can say, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't have to apologize. But what if the person that did you wrong doesn't have the learning that you do, does not have the emotional intelligence that you do because you're a Dear Mama Sal watcher, and doesn't know how to apologize and thinks it's all about winning and losing? So my question is, who needs to apologize? And my answer to you, from my perspective, and you know I don't have the right answers, you just get my opinion. From my side, and my opinion is the person who needs to apologize is the one that wants to continue the relationship. How many of you agree with me? Because it's not about winning and losing. It is about why should there be an apology? You see, an apology is really um, just, hello, let's be friends. You know, we all mess up, don't we? Unless you're a perfect person, we all mess up and we all make mistakes. And some people just don't have the ability to say, I'm sorry. And that doesn't make them anything other than less emotionally aware. Let's put it that way. And Jody goes, I'm a pro at messing up. You and I both, Jody. And the reason Jody and I get on so well is we can tell the truth to each other, um, and you know, and not have it disturb the relationship. I think that's a really important thing. That to me, that's a real friend. I always said that about Yvonne. You know, Yvonne and I very rarely cross swords, but every now and then we have a doozy. But you know, I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry because we will both go to our respective corners like a boxing match and process. And I know for a fact, because it's happened so many times, that after we've both processed, we both end up apologizing for our side of it. You know, you don't have to apologize for it happening, just for your side of it. What is it that you did or did not do that you need to say I'm sorry for? You don't have to lie. You'll always have something to apologize for, believe me. However, I saw a quote here that says an apology is also an admission of guilt. I don't agree. I want to tell you, I believe that an apology is a demonstration of character. My view. An apology is a demonstration of your character. Got nothing to do with winning or losing. And a demonstration of your friendship. So we've got a lot of quite controversial things that I want to say today. I believe that an apology comes from you or me, even if the other person was totally in the wrong. Interesting. I had a feeling this would bring up a few things. Jeannie's saying, I have a friend now who's been quite rude to me, yelled at me. I do not apologize to her, but I gave her some time and then connect with her again as though something has not happened. But she usually apologizes. Okay, that's something I'm going to talk about as well. Sometimes the apologies are silent. And you know, good point there. And Jody's saying two things can be true at the same time. We can love someone fiercely and be upset with them. Yeah, you think? And it's okay to tell them you're upset with them if they're a friend. That's my definition. So I believe that it's, even if you are the wronged person, you know, if you have a lot of character, you can actually apologize and find a reason to apologize. And basically remember that what the apology says is, I want to continue the relationship or build it. And if you can see that at the get-go, let's just see what an apology is. And I checked with Webster, Oxford English Dictionary to find out what their definition was. A regretful acknowledgement of an offense or failure. All right? Think about that. A regretful acknowledgement. So if the other person has wronged you, is there any way that you can regretfully apologize? Yes, you can say, I just wanted to say how sorry I am that something I did triggered you so badly that it caused, blah, 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 blah. You can apologize for that because something, now it doesn't mean that you meant to do it. It means, I am so sorry, in parenthesis for you, that what I said triggered you. All right? Yeah. Jody's saying, I realize that I owe you an apology, so I misunderstood the context of a conversation, and I apologize. Yeah, that's an interesting one, Jody. All right. Seeing as you brought it up, I'd like to talk about that. I used a word yesterday when I was texting Jody, who was already in the red zone, and I didn't realize it. When I say in the red zone, she was already having problems with her peace of mind and everything else. She was already quite wired. And I said something, and I used the word prattle, something about you prattling on. And it was because there was a double standard going on. I know that if I am having certain symptoms, Jody has this ability to be able to go, have you taken this, this, this? Are you eating this, this, this? All right. She knows all the stuff. And so what I said to her, there's something wrong going on here, because uh, if I had these symptoms that you're talking about, you would be prattling on about what I need to be eating. And something, the funny thing was that as I wrote the word, I thought, that's not a nice word necessarily. And I went, it's Jody, she'll get it. And let it go. And didn't realize that she was triggered. So do you all know that sometimes what people read is not what you meant to say? We all know that, right? We've all had it happen. So what Jody, in her state, read was that she was prattling on about her illness. And that she, would keep quiet about it in future, and, went defensive on me. And I went, whoa, 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 stop right there. Even though I knew she was upset, it was like, I was not going to let this pass. This is like, you took this out of context. But that only said that after I went back and checked the text and made sure what I believe I said was in fact true. You understand? I took the time to go read the text. I didn't bother to copy and paste it and stick it down her throat. But I did read the text to make sure I was correct on this. And then I said, hang on a second. You took that prattle out of context. The prattle was about you prattling on at me about all the things I needed to eat and look after myself because you're a mother hen. I did not say anything about the fact you're prattling on about your illnesses. All right. And Jody is saying, quite rightly so, all right, that wouldn't have been, it would have been a whole different conversation if she hadn't been in the red zone to start with, all right? Her feathers were already ruffled with something else that day, but I didn't realize it. And, if I had known, I would not have used that word prattled. And my mind tried to stop me from using it. And I thought it's such a nice word. I love the word. I apologize for using it. However, I don't apologize for using the word because it was a nice word. I do apologize for using it on a day that, wasn't the best. So, as Jody said, on a normal day, it wouldn't have been an issue. So here we go. It says that proper apologies have three parts. What I did wrong. I feel bad that I hurt you. How do I make this better? All right. I feel sad that I hurt Jody. Of course I do. She knows that. But I'll be damned if I will let her twist my words around, and that is okay as well. All right. I know my boundary. I love you dearly, but don't you dare use my words out of context like that, because you will get a 2x4 so fast from me, it's not even funny. And I'm certain that Jody, yeah, that was on you, Jody. And you see, that is why I know that I can talk about it, because I know you understand these things now. Can you imagine 2 years ago, 10 years ago? There would have been a whole different reaction. I heard somebody say to me, I was talking to somebody about this topic, and I heard somebody say to me, well, how about this? Somebody told me they didn't like me, and so I wrote them and I apologized for whatever it was that I'd done that upset them so much, and then they wrote back and said, I just don't like you. What that person doesn't realize is that's perfectly okay. How many of you think that's perfectly okay? Right? That's their opinion. They're entitled to it. Just because you said you tried to make it better doesn't mean they have to accept it, does it? Because if that is so, then what you did was manipulation, not apology. Okay? Oh, we got all sorts of comments to make you think a bit today. So it said that the word sorry is used to express remorse or sympathy. And how many of you give an apology, as I've just said, waiting for the other person to apologize back at you? That is not an apology. That's a manipulation. So Jody's saying, there you go, peeps. For all those of you who think that Sal and I have these conversations that are all rainbows and roses, oh no, we have very real conversations, quite normal, and definitely demonstrations of friendship conversations, because I would not have pounced on that with many people. All right, but my friends, yes, you don't get to do that as my friend. I can't go cookie. That's called a boundary. So Kanzi's saying, I love it when people say they don't like me. I struggle when people are passive aggressive. Okay, so Kanzi, give me an example of what you consider to be passive aggressive. Oh, I want to tell you, that's a whole. I think that's a whole broadcast, right? Just right there. Jody, make a note. We're gonna do that. Um, so what I did was I thought I'd give you an example. Kenzie's saying, I apologize for my bad typing. I can't find my glasses. Is that an apology or a justification? All right, so Kenzie's saying passive aggressive ghosting, pretending things are fine, but they are not. Yeah. Or have you noticed that when people are passive aggressive, they're pretty sarcastic about stuff? And they use a lot of body language and eye rolling and stuff like that rather than actually tell you the truth. You know, it's great. So here we go. I thought I'd give you an example. For example, don't say I apologize. I didn't know this was a sensitive issue for you. Why is that not an apology? Let's see how good you are. I'm okay. I apologize. I didn't know this was such a sensitive issue for you. Is that an apology? And if not, why not? I'd like to suggest it started well. But it had a silent but in it, all right? And that's what I want you to be very careful of. Yeah, Jeannie, well done, all right? Because what happened here was the person turned it around and made it the other person's fault. It's because you're so sensitive. Yeah, it's implying that the reason for the upset is them, not you. Exactly. Anytime you put the blame back on the other person, that's not an apology. Better to say, and I like to suggest I'm not an expert at this. You're going to catch me doing it wrong all the time, but we might as well just hear what we should have said, right? Because we're imperfect people. Rather say, I'm sorry I lost my temper last night, for example. I've been under a lot of pressure at work, but that is no excuse for my behavior. I love you, and I will try harder not to take my frustration out on you. Can you hear the difference in that but? This is saying, I'm sorry I lost my temper. This is the reason I did it. However, excuses are not tolerated. I lost control. And for that, I want to apologize. You see, that is an apology. It doesn't say they're perfect, doesn't say that the other person wasn't part of the situation, but it just basically is a better way of wording it. Excuse me. So why is it a good idea to apologize? Why do you think it's a good idea to apologize. By the way, we in Canada apologize for almost everything, as do the Brits. We call that manners. But if you realize that apology has nothing to do with guilt or win-lose, apology has to do with character, then you understand why the Brits and the Canadians apologize so much. You see, a genuine apology shows that you feel sorry for your actions, your own actions, all right, and want to do better. It also gives the other person a chance to process their feelings. It does not demand that they agree with you. Yeah, Jodi's saying that she believes that the reason to apologize, all right, is it's the right thing to do to maintain a relationship. And yet a lot of people can't do it, Jodi. And so we'll talk about that as we go along. So you understand that if it contains that but, I'm sorry I did X, Y, and Z, but, and the but says, but you are the cause of why I did it. That is not an apology. Are we quite clear on that? And you're going to have difficulty because you're going to realize how often you do that. We all do. How about this one? Never apologize for showing feeling. Because when you do, you also apologize for telling the truth. However, I do believe that you can apologize for losing control. All right. I checked it up. And funny enough, in the Harvard Medical School had a very interesting article about this. And why the medical school? Because it's all to do with mental health, isn't it? People with pretty solid mental health don't get caught in this vacuum of needing to apologize and hope that they'll like me then. You remember the story I told? The person said, I don't like you. So the person apologized, and then was upset because the other person still didn't like them. Well, oh, that's okay. You see, if you've got strong emotional intelligence, you understand it's quite all right for some people not to like you. Now, if nobody in the world likes you, you've probably got a problem. But, hey, it's quite normal for some people not to like you. So here's what the Harvard Medical School suggested, right? And I want you to understand that this really is just a simple framework. So if you want to grab a pen and a piece of paper, and you can sort of process it later, or maybe come back to it later when somebody says or does something to you, and that you can follow it, and that might help. So number one, it said acknowledge the offense. In other words, take responsibility for the offense, whatever it was, whether it was physical, psychological, and then confirm your behavior was not acceptable. All right? So if you have messed up in some way, admit it. Secondly, explain why, right? You're allowed to justify it. But the thing is to explain how the offense occurred without excusing it. So you can say, I was in a really pissy mood. However, that does not give me the right to be rude to you. Right? In other words, explain it and then pull it back to you. And that makes it a good apology, right? And so, quite honestly, sometimes the best strategy is not to have any excuse at all. In other words, I'm so sorry. Express remorse. If you regret an error and feel ashamed or humiliated, say so. It's all part of a genuine apology. 24 hours later, I can't believe I did that. That's okay. Right? And offer to make amends, right? If you've damaged somebody's property or, you may want to repair it. But when you've hurt somebody's feelings, feelings are their responsibility, not yours. Acknowledge the pain. I'm so sorry if this hurt you. And promise to try to be more considerate next time. Jody, if I hadn't had half my mind watching, whatever, there's my excuse. But it doesn't absolve the fact that I used a word that was open to misinterpretation, and your mind. And I understand that as soon as you read that word prattle, your mind went somewhere else, and I just knew it when I wrote it, and I learned a lesson from that one. So this is the whole thing. It's really important. Now, Lauren gave me a really nice example. She said she got a call from somebody. I hope this makes some of you laugh. You probably recognize this problem. Um, she got a call from somebody who, when she answered the phone, they said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to call you." And really, this person had not contacted Lauren in a month of Sundays. And then admitted it. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you." But I'll get back to you later. Of course, she never has. But the only thing I can possibly suggest you do on that one is laugh and go, "Oops, that must have been so embarrassing for them," which would have been the correct thing for them to say. "I am so sorry. I've just embarrassed myself terribly. I punched the wrong buttons." Have you ever done that? It's just like, really. Yes, Jody's saying, I think it can be an art, the apology, and also how to accept an apology. Right. Does the other person have to accept it? No, I don't think so, Jody. It's none of your business. But I mean, it's nice if they do. And normally the one sign is that they carry on talking to you. But, they don't have to accept your apology. They may have their own stuff going on where that isn't possible, because that would be telling a lie. Yes, and here's the quote, right? Here's another quote that I really like. It said, "Apologizing does not always mean you're wrong and the other person is right. It means you value the relationship more than your ego." I like that. So when the Harvard Medical School said, "Okay, fine, it's as simple as this, all right? So just remember, all right? Acknowledge it, explain it, express remorse, and offer to make it better if you can. How can I fix this? Or do you even need me to fix this?" So, have you ever used an apology in a proactive way? I do this a lot. I know this sounds strange, but I actually apologize for stuff. For example, I'm waiting for somebody to give me some information, and I asked for it over a week ago. So when I write the email to them, I will start by saying, "I'm so sorry if I missed your email back to me. But, last week I asked da 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 da, and I've scoured my email and I can't find the answer. So is it possible that I didn't get a reply? And if I did, please accept my apology." In other words, I use it as a tool. Part of me goes, "and as a weapon." Um, but it's like I start by saying, "I'm sorry if I'm wrong on this, all right?" Because the chances are I probably am. How about when somebody's not doing something the right way? This is a management tool, all right? So if you've got a member of staff who's not doing something the right way, I used to do this a lot and say, "Hey, I'd like to apologize for not explaining myself better when I asked you to do this task." And you see, I know it's my fault because you're not doing it the way that I had hoped you would. And that's not your fault. It's because I didn't tell you the right way. How many of you are laughing about that? Because it's true. And so I tried not to get angry about it. I'd go, "I obviously didn't give you the right instruction." And how about when somebody doesn't do what they said they would? Again, I take it from that point of view where I go, "Hey, uh, I know you said you'd get back to me on the XYZ issue, and, I'm sure you have, but I've missed the reply. Did you leave it on a voicemail? Did you email it to me? How did it come to me that I missed it? And I'm so sorry. All right? So you can use it in a proactive way. And it's a lot nicer than saying, listen, bozo. Now, the next thing is, how are you going to apologize? Are you going to do it by um, are you going to do it by mail, by text, by phone? All right, so I'd like to go through some pros and cons of this. All right. So first of all, I try not to do apologies by phone. And the reason for that is because I know that I can get triggered quite easily and get sucked in and make the whole thing much worse than it was to start with. So I protect myself. I'm inclined to do my apologies in writing. And I don't think that makes me a coward. I want to think about it. I want to be careful about what I say. And I don't want it coming from the back of my brain and messing things up even more. For example, I might say things, and these are guaranteed not to make it any better, right? How about, you're taking it the wrong way? How many of you have had people say to you, I'm really sorry, but you're too sensitive? That's not an apology. Or, I'm really sorry, but it's not my fault you feel this way. I didn't mean it that way. Or, I am so sorry you da 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 da. And now, I only said that because of the way you talk to me. Those are all not apologies. Hi there, Athea. Aetha. Oh, Aya, the creator. Got it, Aya. Hi there. Glad to meet you from New York. Always a pleasure to see somebody from New York. So do you understand that all those things are not apologies, but I do them all the time. And I'm sure you do as well. So we're going to be a lot more careful is what I'm hoping that we all agree. So do you agree with me that it's very easy to get caught up in more problems when you phone if they have not processed yet? Right? If they haven't managed to work through it yet, they'll still be triggered. And so you so much as breathe and they'll be back down your throat again. So be careful about the phone call. Text is not a bad idea, but people, are inclined to react or maybe read it the wrong way if they're still not properly processed. But it's a better way. I find an email quite often when people have got issues and write to me. And by the way, I do welcome it if you've got an issue going on and you'd like some help on it that you'd like me to talk about or do it, just one-on-one. What I wanted to say was that I find that writing is a really good way to help the other person process. So if you do call and they say, yeah, but you did da 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 da, and you go, something, Jane, I called to apologize and I have done that. I hear that you are still really angry and I accept that. Perhaps you'd be good enough to write and let me know exactly what you're angry about so I can process it. And I just don't want to do a knee-jerk reaction on the phone. I'd appreciate that. And by the way, again, I'm sorry for what I did. And I'm going to leave the conversation now. Of course, they won't like it that you control the leaving of the conversation. I've had people say, you can't do that. I said, yes, actually I can, and I'm going to. How about, peach, pear, lemon, ice. Very refreshing. An apology is a lovely perfume. It can transform the clumsiest moment into a gracious gift. How many of you had somebody apologize so well that you ended up laughing? That's a pretty good apology. So you can write. Some of you might even write something in a card. You'll find a card that says it better than you can. And I like a card as well, because that shows that you took the time and that you really meant it. But you can send cards online now. So, because the downside of sending a card is it takes a long time. And, you don't know if it's going to get lost and they may never receive it. I always said, if you really want to apologize to somebody, but you don't know the words for it, send an empty envelope to them. Right? Because what will happen is they'll receive an empty envelope, and they'll probably phone you or contact you and say, I just got an empty envelope from you. What was meant to be in it? And I said, oh no, it's filled full of love. I want you to apologize for what happened. Oh, it works. Believe you me, it works. And it's like, I've done it a couple of times where it's been really bad. I just didn't have any words to apologize for it. So all I did was I sent an empty envelope. And every time I've done it, somebody has contacted me and said, Sal, this envelope arrived with nothing in it. What was meant to be in it? I go, no, it's full of love. Kenzie's saying, what are your thoughts on describing intent in the email? Any ideas on mitigating the other person's reading it in a tone that was not intended? Yes, absolutely. So we agree. Very good point. A very good point. We agree that, and this is what happened to Jody and I yesterday. Eyelashes, mouth. Okay. So yesterday, what happened was I said something. It crossed the invisible barrier. And because from this point onwards, Jody is interpreting what I said. Okay. And what happened was I said something, and then Jody sucked it in, and it went round in her mind, and it wasn't good in her mind. So she came back, and I'm going, WTF? Right? And not only WTF, this statement was not correct. And so then I had to go and do my process, do my research, and then I came back with my next comment, which was, my intent was never to hurt you. But if you've processed properly, you've already seen it from both sides. I can see that it could have triggered you, and it did. And I apologize for that. But again, I was very clear on the fact that it doesn't mean that you can put words in my mouth that I didn't say, because that's not fair. And Jody's adult; she understands that, right? Yes, she's saying my mind zeroed in on that one word because I was really in the red zone, unbeknownst to me. All right, she hadn't communicated that to me. I didn't know she was in the red zone, and the words around it were lost on me. Yeah, absolutely, totally understand. But the whole point about this discussion, Jody, is, well, funny enough, it just happens that we had this planned weeks ago. Remember? But the interesting thing is that you gave it more wings to fly, because we really can talk about it in a way that paints a picture for everybody. But the important thing is, we know it was an accident on both sides, and the reason we know that is because you and I are still talking to each other, and that we timing was something else, no coincidences. Something, as I was writing this today, I thought, Jody's going to think I wrote this because of what happened yesterday. But I know intent. Here we go, Kenzie. I know, and so does Jody, that we talked about this probably a month ago, that we were going to do this subject. Right, Jody? And I think I did it during a broadcast. I said, okay, Jody, remind me, we're going to do this for a broadcast. And then I got sick, so it never happened. Yeah, Jody's saying, I knew it was on the short list ages ago, but this is the right time to talk about it. So do we all agree then that talking an apology, you run the risk of getting sucked into something far worse? And I'm certain you've all had experience of that. However, writing the apology means it's open to misinterpretation. So Kenzie's saying, What are your thoughts about this? To make sure that the other person doesn't read it the wrong way. I would say, Kenzie, I don't have the perfect answer as usual, but what I would say, it is my opinion and only mine, that if you apologize and go blah, 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 and then at the end of it be very clear and just say, in case what I said it was open to any misinterpretation, I want to say I'm sorry, and two, I want to do everything I can not to cause this again. Do you understand, Kenzie? Is to come back with, at the end, to keep it very clean in case you've messed up in the middle. Or I found another way that's quite interesting. And some of you may try this and some of you may not. It takes large sphericals, if you know what I mean. I've done this in quite a few business situations where I knew something had gone wrong and I didn't want to be defensive. And what I said was, I'd like to apologize if you at any time would like to hear my side of this story. Please feel free to let me know. In other words, what I'm saying is, I am sorry, but there's more to this story than you know. Right, Jody? And that would have been a situation that you had, right? Which is, I'm sorry that but you have no idea what sort of day I had. I only got to hear that later. So, because I'm not clairvoyant. And the other person, if they're angry, you've messed up. And, you had the day from hell. 9 times out of 10, when you bother to say to the person, if you're interested to know why I reacted that way, please let me know. It's a good one. Jody's saying, I've had someone apologize to me in such an angry, defensive way. There's just no way that it could have sounded sincere to me. And that makes me even more hurt. It's not your stuff. They just don't know it yet, Jody. I'd like you to take a deep breath and go, boy, thank goodness I know better than that. I actually tune out. I believe you me, I've had it happen where they go into, all sorts of stuff and I just tune out. And when they finished, I say, did I get it right that you wanted to apologize? If so, thank you. Just throw out that section in the middle. Because it makes them realize that they messed up in the center, right? And you're getting more hurt, your stuff, not theirs. Hi, Beth. Good to see you, and very happy Sunday to you. We're discussing apologies. You probably know that already. So do we agree? Phone, careful you don't get sucked in. Know how to set the boundary. Writing, understand it can, even however well you write it, it can be open to misinterpretation. So when is the right time to apologize? What do you think? When is the right time? Let's say the situation with Jody and myself yesterday. Oh, listen to the childishness of this one. Jeannie, I totally relate to this. Jeannie's saying, I answered something on Facebook with her opinion. All right. And an angry lady said, I'm glad you're so old so you can die soon. Well, you understand that, you just, if believe you me, if you're going to be a YouTuber, I've had people threaten my life and be quite surprised when I've reported them to the police. Why did you do that? You threatened my life. Yeah, but it's just a YouTube thing. No, it's not. You threatened my life. So when somebody says something like the trolls say, you can imagine how many horrific things people have said to me because of my gray hair and goodness knows what else. One of the worst ones, well, I don't even want to talk about it. But it's just like, understand the mentality of the person that is saying this and pray for them. All right? And, quite often, Jeannie, I want to tell you, I've written back to people who've said things like that and said, thank you for your opinion. Because that's all it is. In other words, I still have the good manners to thank them for their opinion. And I do it laughing because I go, yeah, thank you for your opinion. Why? You know who taught me this one? Benji. He said, Sal, think about it. Every time there's a troll doing stuff like that, they're just pushing up your views. Yes, and Jeannie's saying, I kept thinking how some of us were brought up better. And aren't we fortunate for that? Aren't we? But you still can set the boundary. I've found sometimes, Jeannie, when I have had a troll do something like that, I've actually said, ouch. I'm so sorry that you get your joy out of hurting people. I will pray for you. Yeah. And Jody, who's always so honest, says, I'd be saying, thank you for your opinion. And then under my breath, now take a long walk off a very short pier. We all relate to that, Jody. But you understand, the greater gift is to know they don't have control. Yeah, Beth is saying, I have an employee that constantly says she is sorry, but after I got to know her, she was in an abusive relationship, so she was working through it. Habits are hard to break. Yes. Now, there is a really great topic as a turn on this one. By the way, Beth, have you moved already? I know you said you were going to, but I just wondered if you've moved already. Yeah, so how about that? Be aware that some people, if they apologize for absolutely everything, like for breathing, for doing whatever, make sure that you, if you can, find out more about what's going on. Maybe they don't realize that they're doing it. And I've had people say to me, well, I apologize to you. And I go, you did. I agree. Well, you never apologized back. And I said, no, I didn't. What is it that you believe I did that needs an apology? Right? And they will tell me. And I have said to people in the past, the reason I didn't apologize it was because it was my truth. It is what I thought. And I have the right to have my opinion, as do you. However, I am sorry if it hurt you, which it obviously did because you're still talking about it. But thank you for having the courage to talk to me about it. Because I believe that to be true as well. Do you understand that people, if they come back, it takes courage to come back and try and sort something out. But a lot of people come back just to get themselves, to prove themselves right. And I need you to not get sucked into that. Do not get sucked into that. Hi, Isabel. Good to see you. Great. Isabel, can I repeat that? Just want to double check. So the right time, Isabel's saying, hi, everyone. Jody, I owe you an apology. I didn't write back. Oops, but I will. And the way she will know you mean that is when you do. All right? So the right time, I believe, the right time to apologize is not immediately. You all know that one, I know. The right time to apologize is when you've had time to process what happened. In other words, that you've had time to think about it from your side and own your stuff, know what you did wrong, and that you have had time and enough presence of mind to see it from their side, right? Turn the mirror around and go, wait a minute, if I had been on the receiving side of this, when I thought about that, I could totally understand why Jody would get upset with that word, because her mind just blanked out after it. Yeah, I could totally see how that could happen. Yeah, and Jody, listen to this. This is so cute. Is it? I love you, Jody saying to Is it? I love you, girl. I owe you an apology for taking so long to reply sometimes. You see, these are people that want to continue their relationship and also have a great sense of humor. I love it. So do you understand? Don't rush to apologize. Do it a good apology rather than a fast one. Beth is saying, not moving to her house yet, but a better apartment complex that is brand new. A big step because it's smoke-free complex. It will help you continue not to smoke. What a great idea. That is amazingly intelligent of you, Beth. Well done. And you'll get all modern, everything, isn't that beautiful? Jeannie is saying, because of the power of words, I dislike it when people change meanings. Give me an example so that we can share it with people. It's sometimes, I know what you're saying, but let's do it in an example so people can understand it. Beth saying, Jody's saying it's wonderful news, Beth. Yep. And Beth is saying, I need all the help I can get. I want to tell you, Beth, I know that story. And, I chose to see the cigarette as the devil. And anytime the devil called, I go, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to tell me I can't cope without you, but I can't. So do me a favor, go away. Actually, I use other words, Beth, other than go away. And I know that you know those words. That, I find it very powerful, which is I'd actually talk back to it and go, yeah, I can hear you. Something really stressful happened not so long ago. And, there was that flash where, what I need is a cigarette. And I go, oh, no, you don't. I started to laugh. And I went, oh, no, you don't even think about that. How dare you interrupt my life? I've got enough issues going on without cigarettes. Okay, so, all right. So, Jeannie, let me understand this. Some dislike the word mother and want to change it, right? Yeah. People are entitled to want to change things. You are entitled not to agree with it. I don't care whether you. I've had conversations with somebody where I said, and my son Benji, and you do know he's not your son. I go, of course, you know he's not my son, but he is more of a son to me than any other person I've ever met in my life, and he calls me mum. So therefore, yes, he is my son. Now, what's your real problem with this? You got to think about that, all right? So, it's their problem, not yours. Yeah. So all the ex-smokers, I wish you well. Yeah. So Kanzi, I know that you understand exactly, and there's so many of us ex-smokers that I want to tell you, I could have a cigarette tomorrow, no problem. But will I let the devil get hold of me again? No, that's not. I know if I have so much as one puff will lead to two, two will lead to, oh, well, you can have 3 a day. It's not going to hurt you. I've been that route. I gave up once before and fell into that trap. So I hope this is making some sense to you all. And the main thing, I believe, is this. I remind myself that apologizing does not mean I lost. I'm not admitting defeat by apologizing. I remind myself that it means I've got character. I have the ability to apologize. Quite honestly, it's as simple as that. But if I'm waiting for somebody to apologize back, then that's manipulation. That's not a true apology. And because I don't believe that apologizing is win or lose, I think it's just, hey, I'd like to continue the relationship. How about you? Then we get on to, what about the people who can't apologize? And there are so many, aren't there? I had an aunt that could never apologize for anything. Right? She was an ex-teacher. And for some reason, she could never apologize. But she did so many things. She did so many things that told me that she wanted to say sorry, but she didn't. It was beyond her. You know, she would phone up and say, Sal, my dryer has broken. Could you come and have a look at it for me? You know, in other words, can we go back to how it was, Sal? You know, can we make that connection? I miss you. But goodness only knows that was she going to use those words? Nope. And I understood that. Jody was saying that happened to her where somebody, did something like that and didn't apologize. But what they did do was send, a care package or something. I think that's an apology. The best way they knew how. That's saying that she has an employee that has COPD, that's congestive. What do you call it? I know what this is. It's lung thing. Brain. Jody, help me here. All right, her oxygen went down to 45 and she almost died. I called her in hospital and she was crying because she has to wear oxygen all the time now. And Beth said, I told her to stop crying. You're not quitting and I'm not firing you. You stay in my system for 6 weeks. Let's work together and get you back to work. Absolutely, Beth. The same as I did with Yvonne when she got fired, when she was a single mom with an 11-year-old and she got downsized. All right. And she was sure she was going to get evicted, and quite rightly so. Thank you, Jody. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, lung stuff, right? COPD. Why on earth my brain didn't want to find that, I don't know, but it didn't. Thanks, Jody. So here is the thing. And I said to Yvonne, you didn't plan this. You didn't mean it. So therefore, don't worry about it. We'll sort out the rent when you're employed again. Well, you can't afford not to have the rent. I said, I'll make a plan. Unlike you, I've got savings. I can make a plan. Yes, Beth is saying she can do office work and sit in my office. There's always a way you can get hours. Yes, she can stock shelves, and carry her oxygen. As long as they're the low ones, all right? You know what I mean? Beth, you know what I always say? What can she do? Let's make a list. Work out. And I'd use it as a wonderful team building process. Put it up on your in your what do you call it, staff room. Let's think of things that she can do to help us, but whilst on oxygen, right? Yeah, it's about, and what you're teaching them is just because somebody gets sick doesn't mean that they are not of value. It means they're just sick. And everybody else needs to come to the table now and come up and what you're telling the staff, Beth, when you do something like that, have a meeting around it so everybody knows, and then say, we're going to put, ideas are going to come to you as you're driving home or taking the bus home or whatever you do. Ideas are going to come to you. Please write them down. And so from that perspective, all right, it's really important. Beth is saying she sent me a picture. Yeah. So there's a beautiful thing. Listen to what Jody says, because your abilities may change, but your worth does not. Right? Beautiful words. Your ability might have changed, but your worth to us has not. So I agree. Great person to be sitting in the back room doing all sorts of stuff. You can train her to do that. great person to, you will find 1,001 things for her to do that other people don't want to do. And it'll be a win-win if you do it right. I'm very proud of you for thinking that way, Beth. Very proud of you. Everybody has value. And the trick of I call that being a leader. When you show people that they are greater than they think they are. All right? When you can show somebody that they are greater than they think they are, I consider that to be a leader. So as usual, Beth, you continue to impress me. I've always thought this from the moment I met you. You are a great leader. You needed to learn how to lead yourself first, but you are a great leader of people because you set the example. And you genuinely love people. And you have every excuse in the book not to be the person you are. You have every reason in the book to be a victim, and you're not. You are a victor. And for that, I am so grateful I started Dear Mama Sal, because if I hadn't, I would never have had the chance to meet you, or Jody, or anybody else. Yeah, Jody's saying, I'm struggling with that at the moment. Health is precious, and I've had some very down days. I'm reminding myself I still have worth in this world. I want to tell you something, Jody. As long as you breathe air and continue to be, to be, you have value, right? Because you start off so valuable. It's just like unbelievable. And I can understand that feeling of worthlessness. You don't think I haven't been struggling with that as well? And Jody's saying, Sal, you're my cheerleader, and you've helped me find my value. Well, I know that there was a moment in the last 10 days when I've had to cancel all these broadcasts, or chose to cancel them. When do I just cancel Dear Mama Sal? And I went, no, I'm not canceling Dear Mama Sal, because it may help somebody. I'm hoping today's broadcast did, for example. Why? Because it's important that we discuss these subjects. It's important that we understand that that we all do these things, that we all need to apologize more often, and that we all get defensive, and we all do these things. Hello, yes, we do. And we have moments of passive aggressive behavior, and we do all sorts of things. It doesn't mean we're bad people. It means we are hurting. And Jeannie's saying, I feel frustrated because I can't walk as well without my cane. But I still do things every day. I want to tell you, can you imagine the frustration for me, Jeannie, that I cannot walk to the post boxes and back without being in pain now? And Jody's saying it's perfectly fine to take the time off when needed, and I may need it more often. And I will continue to do what I need to do so that I can look after myself. I'm not, it's horrible. I don't like it. It means that I am human. And, I've always thought I had a cape and wings and things, but apparently not. So, do I apologize for this? There's part of me that wants to apologize for it, and there's part of it that goes, hey, thanks, guys, for understanding. Thank you so much for understanding. And Jody, I certainly would not know that it's perfectly okay and that I am allowed that self-care if I hadn't met you. So you see, if I look at it all, if I look at Beth and you and Jeannie and everybody else, you see, everybody in Dear Mama Sal has had part of the experiences. And that's what I love about doing Dear Mama Sal. It's not just about me. We've all traveled Beth's journey over the years, all right? We've all watched her grow into this magnificent person who has illnesses coming out of her yin yang and still, does whatever because she can. We've watched Jodie, who's had, beaten cancer, beaten this, beaten that, and every time she beats something, she gets something else. And still in there, being admin to me and another YouTuber, and still does everything she possibly can to keep my spirits up during the week. And Jodie's saying, Sal, you are such a living example of what you teach. There is such value in that. Yeah. And you know, I had a major failure this week, and it pleased me. Want to see it? Hang on. That took a long time because I needed to find the bits. I wanted to make a special soap that had elephants on it. And you probably can't see the elephant. Oh, maybe you can. Can you see the elephants? But the soap I used didn't set well. But how many of you know that was a huge learning moment? I went, look at that. The soap didn't set well, but the mold works. So what I thought I'd do is just show you, right, what I intend to do. I got a little bit of glitter on here. Remember whoever it was that taught us that. See, that's probably not going to work. This could be a real big mess here, people, but that's okay. Would it make it worse or better? Oh, I got some experimenting to do with that. But what I'm saying is that, yeah, it's fine. It just needs more of it. It's going to be one of those glitter days, people. I got glitter everywhere. Still not quite right. It's a work in progress. Yeah. It's a work in progress. I actually think what I will do is actually test different colors of soap. But how many of you can see that the actual soap failed, but the mold didn't? So now, oh, that was not a good idea, so. The point that I actually wanted to make was this. Even though something went wrong, all right, be it in a relationship or not, we can make things better. right? Depending on our attitude. And if I don't close the glitter up, it's going to be absolutely everywhere. I have to be good on the cleanup in a minute. But you understand, it's like, it's all on how we take it. So remember this, right? Apologizing is not a lose. And remember that you need to see it from both sides. All right? Need to see it from both sides. And when you do, then you can apologize. If you can't get to seeing it from the other person's point of view, it's not time for you to apologize. Does that rule make any sense to any of you? If you haven't processed enough that you can admit where you went wrong, on the other hand, you can understand if you were in their shoes, you'd also react that way. That's called compassion. If you haven't got to compassion, it's not time to apologize yet. It doesn't mean they were right and you were wrong. It means, oops. As is said, oops. And when you can see that, it puts it all in a totally different thing. The person that phoned Lauren and said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to phone you. I'll get back to you. I'd burst out laughing, wouldn't you? But I'm certain it upset Lauren at the time. But really, it's just like, that was not an apology. That was an embarrassment. That's what you were hearing, was embarrassment, not an apology. All right? And so to me, this is like, all this, I love the real life examples that you guys give me, because it gives us all a chance to revisit. How many of you feel that you will be making better apologies this week? We will all need them this week, I'm sure. And it's like, when you can see this the way that it is, then you understand how you have relieved your stress. If the only reason you apologize is because you want them to apologize back to you or like you, wrong reason. That's not an apology. That's a manipulation. Do you all get that? That's a manipulation. The only reason I'm doing this is because I want you to like me. No. Don't bother to apologize to that person if you feel like that. You're not seeing it from both sides. You're only seeing it from yours. And you're also controlling. You presume everybody has to like you. Well, no, they don't. And when you are emotionally intelligent enough to see that and understand that, you have come a long way. Not everybody has to like you or agree with you. When you can get that and be okay with it, then you have come a long way in your emotional intelligence. You've grown up. So I hope that you all understand why this was such an important broadcast to do, and I'm really happy to be able to do it, because I really wasn't sure. By the way, the temperature is still a very balmy 83 in Fahrenheit, which I know most of you do that, but 28.8 perhaps, centigrade. I have to do this because that's how I, on the back of the door here, I've got the conversion. So Judy, thank you saying I look so good. I certainly don't feel it. I got to be honest on that, but I do feel a lot better than I was. It was very difficult. So keep sending me the topics that you want me to talk about, because as you can see, they are magical. And as you can see, I don't believe in coincidence. As Jody and I were laughing about it just earlier, right? This topic came in at least a month ago. And one thing and another, it got pushed back, it got pushed back, it got pushed back. And then magically, it was the ideal topic for today, and made more so because of what happened between Jody and I yesterday. And Jody, how much do you think I still love you? And, it's just like, was the fact that I put down a boundary and mess up our relationship? I don't think so. Oh, Isabel saying, very interesting. I'll listen to what I missed. I'm glad to hear that. And if you enjoyed it, please remember to leave a comment under the broadcast so other people know to listen to it. I had somebody write to me and said, I'm going back to the beginning of January to start finding out what I missed. I love it. Yeah, Jody saying, I love you. And I know you love me. Exactly. Yeah. So, there's no maybe. And the reason, the other thing, Jody, is also be aware we have put so much of our time and effort into each other and the relationship. All right. It's not that it could never be broken. It could. Of course it could. But it's unlikely. Right? It's unlikely. As long as we both do our level best, it is very unlikely. Great believer. If two people want a relationship to continue, it will. And if they don't, if only one does, it won't. And there's no doubt about that as well. So there we go. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Hopefully I will see you on Friday and that we will have, and Jody's going, yeah, we're made of iron as far as she's concerned, right? But, things could get in our way, Jody, and it could happen. But, I'll still be haunting you for the rest of your life. You know that. In the nicest possible way, I hope. Everybody have a wonderful week. We will see you on Friday, God willing. Bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody and Jeannie and everybody else for being here. Bye for now. Apologize.